Fun fact, the original Final Destination movie is now old enough to drink. So let's talk about it. So Final Destination revolves around a superstitious kid named Alex Browning who is about to go on a school trip to Paris when he suddenly have a premonition about the whole plane exploding and managed to save himself and 6 others from that plane crash. Now what he didn't realize is that Flight 180 is not done with them yet, as his friend and survivors start to die one by one in the order they would in the plane crash. Now that is an awesome concept, and even though the movie doesn't live up to that concept, it's still a really enjoyable movie. It is surprisingly tame from what you would expect, it did a really good job at making everyday things seem scary, and that plane crash scene is just a masterpiece, which make the cheesy explanation and the overall dated feel of the movie a bit more forgivable. But then they made a sequel of it. To be fair, it's not easy to make a Final Destination sequel without copying the original one. And it is kind of smart that the protagonist of this sequel is actually a Flight 180 obsessed girl instead of just some random premonition having guy. And the first time I watched this, I was blown away by the awesome visual effect, which definitely take too much effort for this movie. But sadly, the story of Final Destination 2 is slotty as all hell, with twist and turn that is just too confusing for me to enjoy, to the fact that they try to reuse a concept that failed so much in the original that they cut it out of the first movie. The story of Final Destination 2 just ended up being too messy for me to enjoy, which is kind of sad because the good part of this movie is really damn good. But at least with all of its flaws and mistakes, I have to say that it is somewhat original, which is more than you could expect from a Final Destination series. Talking about Sirius. Now, I haven't actually watched the third and, God forbid, the fourth movie because they didn't seem to have anything to do with the first two movies, and I don't want to develop any eye problem from the 3D one. So I jumped straight to Final Destination 5, which in my opinion is kind of dull. It is not as original of a sequel as the second one, and it's not as serious and realistic as the first movie, which is a bummer because the fifth movie was made in 2010, which means that they could definitely take this story seriously without coming off as cheesy like the first one. Instead, what we ended up with is a movie that is a bit too comical for me, with everyone else beside the main character being a caricature, which is apparently a problem with the third and fourth movie as well. But at least the main character is actually taken seriously this time, with them having a real problem and dilemma that they actually have to fight. And even though the movie is kind of dull, I gotta say that ending is really damn awesome.